Recently, I got a couple of questions in other videos, and these are questions I've been asked quite a few times. Even though I answered them, I started thinking about why I have the Foundation series to begin with, and that's to answer commonly asked questions once, so I can just point to them and not have to keep answering them over and over again. So, because I've gotten the same kind of questions and comments repeatedly, I guess this is a good time to stop and post a comprehensive answer for all to see. So let's get this show on the road. First off, one of the most common questions and comments that I get is, why don't I have more followers and subscribers and all that? Now, certainly I can't know for sure why people do or do not click the like and subscribe buttons, and way back when I first started on YouTube, I used to tell people to like and subscribe and share and all that, but I don't do that anymore. And the reason I don't do that is because I don't like to beg, and I don't want to tell people what to do. If you like the video, you're going to give it a thumbs up. If you want to keep track of my content, you'll subscribe. And if you want to tell others what I'm doing, you're going to do that too. My telling you to do that really means nothing. I've got more respect for my fans than thinking they're just too stupid to do things without my instructions. Do what you're going to do because it's something you want to do, not because someone told you to do it. But I know I'm getting off topic. So why do people do what they do? I don't know. I know that I espouse a generally unpopular viewpoint in America today, and that viewpoint is secular conservatism. And I know this view is completely out of fashion, which is why America is on the decline. Conservatism builds nations, liberalism, at least modern-day liberalism, tears them down. And it's certainly not popular to point that out. I have two different focuses on this channel, atheism and conservatism. Those focuses tend to be diametrically opposed for most people. For most, if you talk about atheism and politics of any kind, you're going to find that most vocal atheists are also politically liberal. And the same goes for conservatism. If you mention being conservative, you'll find out that most vocal conservatives are highly religious. So anybody coming to this channel is going to be turned off by one of my two focuses. I mean, traditionally, religion and conservatism went hand in hand. But then again, traditionally, religion and everything went hand in hand. But we're coming into a post-religious America, where virtually every religious group is suffering significant losses, and I think that over time, you will see more formerly religious conservatives come around to what I'm saying. I'm just one of those early adopters. But I think that one of the biggest problems that we're seeing, and I know this sounds like I'm just wandering aimlessly, but trust me, I know where I'm going with this, is the overuse of emotion in America today. Both the liberal left and fundamentalist religious are hyper-emotional in their views. They believe what they believe because it makes them feel good to believe it. Now, don't get me wrong, I've got nothing against emotion, but there's a time and a place for everything, and it's not all the time and every place. And so long as you have people who cannot override the pleasure chemicals in their brains with intellect, you're going to have problems. Why evolve these big brains if we're afraid to use them? So we really have two sides that have, at their core, the same fundamental problem. They're not interested in thinking about the issues rationally. They're not capable of stepping back from their primitive emotional reactions and thinking about things intellectually. And I get it, really I do. It's frightening to reject your emotional protection system and admit that something might not feel good, even though it might be the best course of action. But sometimes that's just the reality. Sometimes you might have to admit that you're not going to get immediate satisfaction, that everyone might not be happy, that everyone might not get what they want, and maybe, just maybe, the life we have might be all there is, and we might just have to make the best of it. So if you really want to know why my ideas don't get that much support, I think that's why. It isn't about me. I don't matter. I mean, nobody does. It's what you say, not who you are, that really ought to make a difference. It's the message, not the messenger. If I can help other people think about things rather than just react to them, I'm happy. And of course, there are other things like I don't advertise at all. I don't even post links to my videos on the videos that I'm responding to. I mean, I used to back when I started, and then I realized that the last thing I care about is inciting a riot. I'm not out to start a war. I want intelligent conversations, and for the reasons that I've discussed, that's not likely to happen with most of the loyal opposition. Hence, what's the point of going and saying, I think you're wrong? So I don't do it. I don't necessarily mind if anybody else does it, as long as it's done reasonably respectfully and without trying to start a fight. If you just want to attack somebody, don't bother doing it on my behalf. I want to start conversations, not conflagrations. And that's another point. I really don't use social media at all. I just don't. I have very little respect for it. Oh, yeah, I've got a Twitter account, and all of my videos and blog posts and former podcasts get posted to that, but I haven't actually looked at Twitter in years. And the same goes for Facebook. The same anymore with Google+. I just find social media sites have very little to offer, and I've got no time to spend paying attention to them. I'm very responsive on YouTube and on my blog and through email, but otherwise, forget it. You can't have a decent conversation in 140 characters or less. If you want to respond to me, I have places to do so, posted at the end of every single video. So now that I've brought up my blog, let me say that I've been blogging about these topics for almost 11 years now, and I had a podcast that ran for about 130 episodes. My real purpose in all of this isn't to make a buck or have followers. I have something I want to say, and these are my outlets to say it. That brings me to another question: why I don't have a Patreon account. I'm not here to beg for money. I don't care about donations. In fact, I've turned down donations in the past. I don't have a Google AdSense account. I have never asked for a red cent online in my life. My purpose is not to get paid. My purpose is not to get attention for myself. It's to be able to say what I have to say. And if people happen to hear it and enjoy it and want to hear more, that's fine with me too. But I'm not looking for a cult following. I'm not a leader in a movement. I'm not a hero. I'm just a guy with something to say, and all I care about is having a place to say it. If you want to support me, then think about what I'm saying and engage in intellectual discussion with me or with others in your life. That's reward enough. I honestly think that Patreon and similar services have done a grave disservice to intellectual debate online. Now people do things because they want to get paid for it, not because they think it's important to do on their own. I remember another YouTuber that I used to follow who grew very quickly and then, I guess, figured that his Patreon backers were going to pay him for every video he threw up, so he'd just make a whole ton of really pointless videos. Now, I have no idea what happened to him. I stopped following him, and that's certainly not something I'd ever want to do. Hence, I refuse to even permit the temptation that that might happen. And if I'm going to be perfectly honest, if I have no responsibility to others, then I don't have to feel obligated to keep doing this if it stops being fun. I'm doing this for myself. I'm happy that others choose to come along for the ride, but if it stops being enjoyable, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to just say, well, there's a paycheck involved, therefore I'm going to just keep putting things out I don't care about just so I keep getting paid. No thanks. I'm more honest than that. And I'm not saying others aren't necessarily, but there is that temptation, and I refuse to give in to it. So what can you do if you want to help? Well, talk to me. Say you enjoy what I'm doing. But more than that, go talk to other people. This shouldn't be a passive process. You should want to go out and challenge others. I mean, do it respectfully, do it rationally, and do it with as much evidence, logic, and reason as you can, but go do it. Don't just sit around consuming content. Create content through your discussions with others. If you have nothing to say, you're not thinking about it enough. If you have no position to defend, you're not paying attention. Get out there, say your piece, defend your views, and try to convince others that what you think is correct. And be open to being wrong. Nobody is perfect. Test your views with new evidence that you find along the way. Maybe it will confirm what you already think. Maybe it will refute your current positions. But if you're going to just sit in your tower, ignoring everything else that comes along the way, then you're neither being rational nor intelligent, and that's not something anybody should be proud of. So I'll talk to everybody else soon. If you have any questions, you know where to get a hold of me.